Are you ready for Sports Desk?
Sports Desk from the penthouse.
We're sorry that we're a little late there. I got attacked by Jack Sparrow.
I was getting dressed. Crime stops for no one. Oh, the uke. Forgive us.
Yes. When Jack Sparrow attacked me ship, me mind went a little crazy. Okay, enough of that. Welcome to this week's episode of Sports Desk.
Sports Desk, we're back.
We're so sorry for the delay, folks. As I mentioned, I got attacked by Jack Sparrow and his gang of pirates, and Batman was too busy watching Netflix in the Batcave.
That's right.
Yes. But we're very excited that you guys joined us. Thank you for waiting patiently. Next week, we'll be on top of our game. We're going to get started. We are joined again this week by our very own Ethan. Say hello, Ethan. Exactly. Oh, my earring fell out.
Oh, Lord.
All right, we're going to get right into it because we have wasted your time, and that is not good. So let's start with our game picks for NFL Week 8. We got a big week of games coming up here, and we're going to get started right away. Skylar and I did our game picks. Ethan, we're going to ask you your opinion on some of these games as well. We're going to start off with New England at Buffalo. We both picked Buffalo. New England's 2-4 this year. They're really struggling. I just think Buffalo's going to take this game because they're at home and New England sucks. What do you say?
I can't help but agree with you. New England has been struggling. Cam Newton's been struggling. He actually ended up getting benched for a little bit in that last game.
Ethan.
And it was a little bit of a rough patch for Belichick, so it makes you wonder if Tom Brady was the one that was actually carrying that team, because the Bucs seem to be doing fine. But yeah, Ethan, what do you think about the New England Buffalo game?
I'm definitely gonna pick Buffalo. There's something in the locker room with the Patriots, and I just don't think that they're clicking right now. Cam's got to play better. Everybody on that team's got to play better than what they were projected to be this season. So especially with Buffalo, the way that they're playing right now, they're playing aggressive. They want to win, and I think they just want to win a little bit more than the Patriots right now.
That is true. I feel like they're playing like they have something to fight for from Buffalo's end. I mean, they've been coming from a stint of being really bad for the past few years, and they finally got something going for them with especially decent quarterback, and Stephon Diggs is a weapon at receiver. They're still trying to get the running back situation figured out. Singletary is sharing the load, and it's shaping up to be like pretty decent. I'm sure they'll just feed the hot hand. But when it comes down to it, I definitely agree that Buffalo will be taking those.
I feel awful because, Ethan, you had a really cool introduction. You did really great. And I did not unmute you until recently.
Oh.
So I apologize to America and to you, Ethan, most of all.
You know what? It's okay. You know why? Because the show goes on.
I let you down, but the show goes on. Please don't fire me. God.
Show goes on.
This is all I have.
I need a new co-host, Ethan.
Oh, like you should be talking. You're the one who's on the hot seat.
All right, Jake, what's the next game that you want to talk about here?
The next game I want to talk about is the Los Angeles Chargers at Denver. Justin Herbert has been doing fantastic in his rookie season for the Chargers. We both picked LA. Ethan, who do you have in this one?
I definitely have LA. Justin Herbert came on the scene, hitting the ground running. Right now, he's ranked number 2 in all the rookies right now, just under Joe Burrow. I think that he's playing exceptionally well in the position that he was in, coming in right off the bat and producing. And that's what it matters, And the way that Denver's playing, I think they need to, pull the pieces together a little bit more if they want to start winning the way that they want to. I think Jerry Jeudy I think they need to feed him a little bit more. They need to figure out how to get him more involved because he is a really good receiver and what was, I think, the number one in his class. But I don't think that Denver is going to be beating the Chargers anytime soon, so I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Okay, so we're all in agreement on that one.
Absolutely.
Is there a game you want to talk about?
Ethan, the world knows that you are a Packers fan. I mean, you very so clearly made that obvious with your gear that you wore last week and then this week even. Jake and I are
yes,
very
sir.
vocal, very vocal and open Viking supporters. And we got a matchup coming up this week. You guys took round one earlier this year. It wasn't even a competition.
You know, I wasn't gonna bring up the past, but there's a stat that I did find, and that is that the Vikings do have a pretty good, or they build up a pretty good defense when it comes to third downs. I think they're one of the best when it comes to third down situations. So week one, maybe in the past, we might struggle a little bit, but the way that Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers were clicking on every single third down that they converted, which was 7 last game, I don't see them stopping anytime soon. I think you guys still have rookies right now at the cornerback position, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And we also just signed 2 cornerbacks, both of them being vets. Just signed them, got them going. Whether or not they're going to be playing this week, I do not know.
And one of our rookie corners actually is out, Cameron Dantzler, because he's on the COVID/reserve list.
Oh, really?
So he either got it or
Sure.
was a close contact. So honestly, what's one
And
more
another-
casualty?
Yeah, I mean, we already traded.
Another thing, I wanted to highlight is the fact that Justin Jefferson is playing very well, and I
He
do
is
applaud
on
you guys for that.
I will
Despite
say he was
your guys'
underutilized in
record.
that first game too.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. But here's the thing, though. Jair Alexander is kind of locking a lot of people down lately. I think. I
Here's the deal,
don't think
though.
any.
Who's he gonna guard? Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson? Both of them are
That's
stud receivers. You can only guard one of them at a time.
that's
Not
the
saying
problem,
that our
though.
defense
This
gonna
is
keep up
why.
with it, but
This is why Josh Jackson has to come up and is in his spot right now. He struggled a little bit his first game. Next game, he produced a little bit. He helped out, but I think this is where he gets put on the spotlight because Jair can't guard both of them. I don't think King's going to be back anytime soon, so I think Josh Jackson's going to be at that cornerback position. So whoever they put there at slot, whoever they have to guard him, they got to guard him fairly well because Adam Thielen did get a little bit hot the first game that we played, which was not good. But all in all, you know who I'm going for.
exactly.
I mean, it's no question.
I'd actually love to hear from those of you guys that are watching. What do you think? It should be a pretty hot matchup. We saw Aaron Rodgers the past couple of weeks. He had one game where he absolutely floundered. He was playing like Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins has been far too inconsistent this year. So I think if Vikings show up to play, they have a good chance of taking it. I mean, they only lost to Seattle by one point.
I'd actually like to argue with you, Skylar, there. You say Kirk Cousins isn't consistent. He's consistently bad.
That is true. But if they show up to play, they have a good chance of actually competing for the dub. But I'd love to hear what everybody has to say about that one.
All right, we got a few comments here. Tim Nelson says, should I start Donald Trump or Derrick Henry on my fantasy team? I'm hearing rumors that Donald Trump might be getting benched soon. That's a tough one because Henry's just
That is tough.
He's a threat every week.
It's up in the air for me.
I'm gonna wait till after next Tuesday to see if Trump is worth starting or not. Jonathan Mordell says Batman is wearing the wrong mask. I don't know if that's CDC certified. Winky face. Oh, his nose is covered. See, because all the air droplets will now be angled down into the ground instead of at you.
But that's a nice mask though. Like you got the whole hat, like chest plate too. Like it's just one big thing. Not a lot of people have that.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's so sturdy. And then David Wilson says, I didn't know Batman was sponsored by Starter.
He is. Walmart brand for the win.
Went to the wrong side.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the reflected version.
No.
In NFL news this week, as Skylar mentioned briefly, I don't know if you guys heard it, The Vikings traded away their best defensive lineman. That would be Yannick Ngakoue. Traded him to the Ravens for a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick in next year's draft. But another trade along the defensive line in the NFL happened yesterday when the Dallas Cowboys traded Everson Griffin, a former Viking, to the Detroit Lions, so now he'll be in the same division.
That's true. I saw that man at a water park once. That was pretty cool.
That's true. He's a big dude.
Massive.
Griffin played with the Vikings
I think it was
for 10
a football
seasons.
too.
Yeah, he's pretty good. David Wilson says, can you say that guy's name 5 times fast? Yannick Ngakoue, Yannick Ngakoue, Yannick Ngakoue, Yannick Ngakoue, Yannick Ngakoue. Come on, Dave.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Tell him.
Evan O'Leary,
Easy.
what are your thoughts on the Packers' interest in Will Fuller? That is interesting because, Ethan, you brought that up to us, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That is a great segue because I was just about to bring that up. So, here's my thing. If we do get Will Fuller, I read that. I mean, it's common sense too that he's going to be the second first-round guy that Aaron would throw to. And here's the thing, though. Will Fuller is not a bad receiver at all. I think he's actually producing a lot. Ever since, especially when Diop was there, especially now that Diop's gone. So I think that having him on our team, especially when we're so limited at the receiver position, we normally put so many guys in positions that don't normally play slot, like the running backs. We normally go to our tight ends too, but we don't have a lot of those star players when it comes to receivers. So I think, especially with his speed, a nice little slot right there will move MVS out somewhere. I think it'll complement Aaron Rodgers very well, and I think Aaron Rodgers will dot him up, no problem.
That is true. It'll add another dimension for the Packers receiving core. However, one thing that I would fear if I was you guys is Will Fuller's history of injuries. I remember playing for the Texans. He's been in and out of games, just battling injuries. Severe or not, I can't actually remember, but I just remember him being like constantly on the injury report, constantly missing games here and there. And so I would imagine that might be a form of concern. But this year he's played through each game, which is good on him. But
yeah, he's
producing.
Yeah, he's a good compliment to Hopkins when he was in Houston. But now that Hopkins has gone to Arizona, he's kind of taken over that wide receiver 1 role. And Houston's struggling this year, so he's definitely a good trade candidate. We got a few comments here. Tim says, didn't the Seahawks trade for a defensive end today from the Bengals? That's right, they traded for Carlos Dunlap, who's been with the Bengals since 2011, I believe. He's only 31, though, which isn't that old if you've been in the league for 10 years. Dave says, at Evan O'Leary, you mean Will Ferrell? Oh, instead of Will Fuller.
That's funny.
Will Ferrell could serve as a good deep threat.
Would be great.
And then Evan says, heard he's a Seahawks fan. That's a no-go. Oh, Will Ferrell's a Seahawks fan. Yeah. I think that's all we got for the NFL news. Am I missing something?
Last week we had a topic that I kind of wanted to mention. However, they were on a bye week. But Miami is starting Tua over Fitzmagic, right? We didn't touch on this last week, did we?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this week they're having their matchup.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about, I think, how we felt about Miss Fitzpatrick being sad and all that jazz. Also wanted to get you guys' take, like, real quick on the power rankings.
Yes.
NFL just put out their power rankings. I think it was like yesterday or maybe 2 days ago. But I mean, they had the Steelers at first, the Chiefs at second, then the Seahawks at third, Ravens at fourth, and Packers at fifth. Now, did you guys think that that's an accurate ranking based on what everyone's been producing so far through week 7, going into week 8? And do you guys think that there should be other teams or a different team that should be in that mix or rearrange the ranking order?
Let's you go first, Skyler.
I do not think that Pittsburgh should be number 1 right now. Granted, they are they're the only team that's undefeated right now, correct? I do not think that they should be number 1. examining everyone else's like overall talent that each team possesses, I feel as though number one should probably be Seattle or Kansas City. I mean, granted, Seattle's defense is absolutely awful.
Ooh.
I just wouldn't want to meet up with either of those teams.
I'm going to say that I think Kansas City should be number one. I think, and if we're talking about teams that should be in this list that aren't, I'm actually going to go with Tennessee. I think they should be number 4 in place of Baltimore because Tennessee put up quite a fight against Pittsburgh. They almost came back if it wasn't for that Gostkowski missed field goal as time expired. I mean, I think Tennessee's been doing great this year. I'm a little surprised to not see them in that top 5 ranking. So we'll see if they can bounce back with a win this week. Maybe they have a bye. I don't even know. No, they play at Cincinnati, so they should win. Few more comments. Few more comments. Jonathan Wardell says, I heard Bruce Wayne is a first-string D3 kicker / defensive back. Is that true?
I can either
no comment.
And then Dave says, I heard Grant Fleming tore his ACL. Jonathan replies, tearing his ACL didn't prevent him from making it to church on Saturday. That's true.
What a good man.
Worship and praise. Yeah, but no, with
Praise
power
Lord.
rankings are so controversial, especially when ESPN does them. I feel like there's some sort of bias in how they rank teams. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, and I feel like a team that's probably missing that should be up there is the Buccaneers as well.
Yeah.
I think that once they start firing on all cylinders, they're a tough team to beat because of their defense. And AB, Antonio Brown's coming like after week 8, I think. And once they get him, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough little run for the playoffs at that point. But there's the thing too, is like this whole power ranking can fluctuate at any point in time, just due to the fact that a lot of these teams can win and beat each other. You know, like Tennessee almost beat the Steelers, and the Steelers got a 6-0 record, but they barely won. So that's why I don't think Pittsburgh should be up there too. I do agree with you with that Ravens spot being switched to the Titans, just because the Titans been dominating teams. You know what I'm saying? And they just been on a roll lately. But at least my Packers are as number 5. You know, I'll keep my Packers at 5. I'm happy about that. I don't know about the Vikings, but I mean the Packers are right there. But.
Here's a fun thought. I think next week we should that wasn't even intentional. We should do a ranking of the bottom 5 teams and determine which team are the worst 5 teams in the league. I think that'd be fun.
Jets, Vikings, Houston.
Aja asked, what about rankings in college football this year?
That is up in the air. We kind of just covered Big Ten actually last week. They had their season openers, and Jake's beloved Minnesota went down. I told Ethan earlier in the week that Minnesota wasn't going to lose their opener. PJ Fleck was going to pull through, and it was not even close.
Yes, and like the fact that we don't have college football rankings or anything besides Big Ten for this week kind of goes to show how scrambled we were tonight, being that we were 10 minutes late. So next time we'll have those rankings for you.
Yeah,
I know Clemson's still number 1 because they don't lose, and I know they won this past week.
For sure.
Bama is up there. I was interested to see that Oklahoma wasn't ranked at some point this year. I don't know if they're still not ranked, but normally they were in the playoff last year, so that was pretty interesting to see.
Ohio State is like 3rd.
Okay, yeah. And if you guys saw that Indiana Penn State game, what a crazy finish in overtime.
Oh my God.
Absolutely crazy.
When he stretched out for that touchdown?
Do you think he got in or no?
I don't know. I got to see where that right knee landed. It's so hard when you don't got that angle on the right knee. Also, the bottom of that ball was out of bounds. But when was it out of bounds? When it crossed the plane. You know, that's just so tough. It's a hard thing to call.
Yeah. We actually have a few more comments about kind of related to college football. Tim says, what about Badgers and COVID? I know the Badgers quarterback, I think Graham Mertz is his name. He's out for 3 weeks or something.
I think he tested positive twice.
You throw one incompletion and then you get hit with the virus.
Yeah, dude, that virus is so relentless. It's relentless. So don't mess up in football. You're gonna get the virus. So
Man,
he's out for several weeks now, which is unfortunate. Aja would like to rephrase this college football rankings question. Do you think there should even be rankings at all, just for the fact that everyone isn't playing the same amount of games?
I think that rankings should be conference based. Whether or not they are, I do not know. But yeah, I mean, obviously they do have their conference rankings, but I don't think that should be considered on a national level at this point in time, especially considering the fact that some seasons aren't even being played right now.
Yeah, the Big Ten just started, so I don't know. It's just such a weird year.
That is a good question. Aja, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, drop your comment, please, on what you think about that, because that's very interesting. Because, the fact that Ohio State's number 3 and they've played one game, and Clemson's played 4 or 5 games, I don't know.
I'd say college rankings are way more artificial than the NFL power rankings.
Even though I do think Ohio State is deserving of that 3 spot based on previous success and the fact that they'll probably do well again this year. But yeah, it's a little premature.
Yeah. How do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially when it comes to the college football, when they were just trying to figure out when they were starting, and some schools aren't playing at all just because they're taking up precautions. Some players aren't even playing at all, so it's just it's hard to get at an accurate ranking of the nation. And kind of what Sky said, I think it should be definitely conference based, since it's those conferences that are allowed to play. I mean, who's playing the best over there? I think that should be the primary focus if they are going to do the rankings and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just hard. I mean, I don't know when their season is going to even end too. But it's just it's all scrambled just because of this whole pandemic, and everybody's just trying to stay safe at the same time, play football. So it's just tough.
Yeah.
We got any more questions over there?
No. I suppose we could move on.
If I could swing it back, Ethan, you mentioned Antonio Brown getting picked up by the Bucs. There was a couple of pickups and trades that I'd kind of like to mention tonight. Antonio Brown to the Bucs. How do we think he's going to fare there? He's coming into a system where they just got Tom Brady. They just got Rob Gronkowski. They already have some pretty solid receivers, and now they're adding kind of a diva in Antonio Brown. He's kind of been known to not really share the spotlight well. I mean, we saw him kind of battling it out with Juju Smith-Schuster when he was over with Pittsburgh. How do we think that he's going to fare, Antonio Brown in the Bucs?
Yeah, well, I think when you bring in a guy like that's that caliber of a player, has issues when it comes to being in the locker room, it's tough. But I think if there's anybody that can handle him, it will be Tom Brady, just because of his experience, his coaching from Belichick. He has this standard of greatness that Antonio Brown's going to have to live up to if he wants to be successful on the Bucs. But I think that Antonio Brown chilled out a little bit ever since the lockout. He didn't want to do all that with the team, get into it with his teammates. I think he's chilled out a little bit. I mean, when he joined Tom Brady the first time, I mean, you kind of saw a little bit of a connection right away, which is scary, until he was, eventually suspended from the league. But I think he's going to have to understand that he's not going to get 10, 13 receptions a game that he used to get when he was in Pittsburgh, because you got Mike Evans, you got
Chris Godwin.
What's his name? Godwin, yeah. You got Gronk, who's playing great right now. So he's gonna have to share the load just a bit, and if he can show us that he can handle that, then I think it's gonna be a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's true, because the rich get richer with Tampa Bay Buccaneers adding a guy like Brown.
Speaking of rich getting richer, LeVeon Bell to the Chiefs. already has a stacked offense and a pretty solid defense, and now they just added a pretty high caliber running back in LeVeon Bell. We saw him also at the Steelers at one point in time, just doing absolutely phenomenal. There was basically no back like him. His patience is second to none. And now he went from the Jets to the Chiefs, and kind of going to see how that fares out. I mean, they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has been doing pretty solid. And I read somewhere that LeVeon Bell also reached out to Clyde and was like, hey, how do you feel about like having me join the team? Like, is this something that's okay with you? I don't want to like step on your toes or anything. Which you kind of got to tip your hat to. Like, not often is it that happens in the NFL. I mean, everyone's looking for their shot, looking to make money.
Right.
And I think that he has a pretty solid chance of actually taking over the starting position from Clyde. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think that when Le'Veon went to the Jets, it was just for the money. Definitely for the money. They paid him like a good amount. I think they still have to pay him a little bit. But that team wasn't built to win games, not at that time, and especially not right now. And it goes to show because of their record. I read a stat that Le'Veon didn't even break 100 yards at any game that he played with the Jets. I don't think
he did not.
Yeah, and that's just, with a guy like that coming from Pittsburgh, when he made a name for himself and he got his yards and he got his times and he got his touchdowns. Now he's going to share the load a little bit, but he has one of the best offensive linemen in the game right now. He's like, first of all, that O-line has to protect Patty Homeboy, okay? That's already a high expectation for them. Now they got to protect for a back like Le'Veon, who's going to be patient, like you said, second to none, patient in the backfield. And I think that him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's playing, he got off on like great start. Now he just mellowed off, but I think he'll pick it up. But if you add that little duo, I think it'll be a great compliment to each other. And I don't think that he's going to be a great player, but I think that he's going to succeed a little bit more and produce a little bit more than when he did with the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to succeed much better in Kansas City, just having more overall weapons with him. Some more news in the signing world of the NFL. Des Bryant, who's been out for a few years, used to play for the Cowboys. Receiver signed with the Ravens. He is on their practice squad. I don't think he got signed to the active roster yet. I think it was just a practice squad.
Yep, just a practice squad.
But good news for him, because he had torn his Achilles a few years ago.
We'll see if he has the actual bounce back. I mean, he'll have Lamar Jackson throwing to him, and right now they have Brown as a receiver, and he's like a big name. Mark Andrews is their other big name tight end who's really getting it done. I can't right now off the top of my head think of any other receivers that they have that are like stand out that come to my mind.
Willie Snead.
I think he had a rookie. I forgot his name. But no, yeah. I mean, you gotta be happy for the guy. I mean, he hasn't played in 3 years. He hasn't been on a team in like 3 years because of that injury and just because like teams didn't really want him at the time. I know he talked to the Ravens before, and they kind of questioned his health and how fit he was at the time. And the fact that he's on the practice squad goes to show that he's been working, he's been doing his thing, and he still wants to play. You can't be anything but happy for the guy. I mean, I don't think that he's gonna come in and right out the gate just produce, especially when he's still on the practice squad. So he's still got to prove himself, but ultimately, I'm still happy for the guy.
Yeah, it's good to see a story like that. Hopefully he can succeed. Kind of the other end of that, in terms of injuries, OBJ tore his ACL this past week, so his season is done. It's a big blow to the Browns' offense, but with Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, I feel like they have the weapons who can, make up for that. And just want to go back to college football because Aja comments a little bit further about the rankings and playoffs. He said He thinks, honestly, drop the rankings. I know they're based on the previous year's performance and then adjusted as the season goes on. But this year, obviously, is very different. With that being said, bowl games and the national championship. Would this be the year to try a 16-team playoffs? And with that, could it be based off of rankings or would it have to be a lottery?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
I think an end of the season tournament would be absolutely like incredible. I mean, you look at March Madness, and that's a big like money raker for NCAA, and I think it'd be even better if it was football, putting together a bracket that way, but also having it be like seeded through like statistic performances throughout the year, so like rankings.
Yes, I think that's a good point.
I definitely agree that there should be rankings should be a little bit involved because you can't just have like every team in there. But definitely like a 16-team tournament is, like you said, a money racker. Just like March Madness. But I believe that if they're gonna do that, it has to be at one stadium. Just like March Madness. Like when you're gonna do all that, you have like specific stadiums that they can play at. Just because of COVID, just like the NBA did it perfectly with the bubble, and I know there's speculation about a bubble playoff for the NFL. Nothing's confirmed, obviously, but I think if they're gonna do that tournament thing, which they should, I think it's a great idea. Definitely, like have specific stadiums that they got to play at and arenas that they got to play at.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of bubble for the NFL when it comes to playoffs. All right. Oh, before we move on to the next sport, I just want to give a quick shout out because I promised a friend of mine that I would do this for her. Our friend Haley Giovinazzo is an aspiring singer, and her first single, her debut single, is coming out on Friday called Old School Vinyl. It's being released on all social platforms. Congratulations to Haley. If you want to listen to that song, it's Haley, Haley, Giovinazzo, which is Giovinazzo. Very easy to remember. Search it, give her some love, show her some support. And that's all. Just want to give her a quick shout out because what she's doing is great. So best of luck, Haley.
That is a last name right there.
Yes, that is Italian as it gets.
She is an absolute phenomenal singer.
She's a great singer, so please show her some support. Friday, not sure what time. Just go on Spotify all day, and then it'll eventually be
We'll
there.
also be sharing it on like our Instagrams, our Twitters and whatnot.
Yes.
World Series just took place last night.
What a crazy Game 6.
And we were wrong with our predictions.
Yes. We both picked the Rays, and the Rays lost. Last night was a crazy game in the sense that, so it was 3-1, the Dodgers won, right? Which isn't really like that crazy. What is controversial from last night's game is Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Blake Snell was pulled in the 6th inning by manager Kevin Cash after he gave up only his second hit of the game. He had given up 1 run, I believe, 9 strikeouts, had only thrown 75 pitches, which is like 3/4 of a starting pitcher's pitch count if they're doing well. And he got pulled, and he was not happy about it. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but he was livid as he was being taken off the mound, yelling a lot of colorful words. And the Rays ended up losing 3-1, so the bullpen immediately came in, gave up some runs. Very controversial decision. Nonetheless, the Rays lose the series. Dodgers win for the first time since 1988.
I hate being wrong.
Although, Ethan, what are your thoughts on this year's World Series because it was such a short season? Do you feel like it really even counts? Because it's 100 games less. So what do you think?
MLB, when it comes to MLB, they play so many games and so many things that could happen within those games that can propel a lot of teams up. I thought that, me being a Brewer fan, I thought that we had, a little bit of a chance this year based on from last year when Yelich got hurt, when he cracked his kneecap. I think it was in the playoffs or like the first game in the playoffs. But I did chose the Dodgers to win, so I just want to point out I win. I get the brownie points, but it's just it feels like it doesn't matter, right? because it's just you can't cut that many games and have like an accurate series. They have an accurate playoff because there's a lot of teams that could have came through if they had more games to play. And it's tough when you think about that, but that's reality. That's reality with the NBA. That's reality with the MLB right now. So, I mean, I'm happy that I was right about the Dodgers. Really, I don't care because I'm a Brewers fan. But I do agree. Like, that's such a horrible, manager call. You only gave up, 2 hits, 1 run, and he had 9 strikeouts.
Yeah. And the
let him keep going.
And
that ratio is, too much pro than con.
Yep.
And that was just tough to see.
Well, at the heart of the Dodgers lineup was 0-6 against him with 6 strikeouts. So he was doing great through the heart of the Dodgers order, and he got yanked, which is very interesting to say the least.
Yeah,
so.
very questionable call. I don't know. There's a lot of people that won't agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. Switching gears to the NBA, Ethan, you brought up. Yep, I always forget that, which I shouldn't. Ethan, you brought up this really good point, or just a fun fact before we started about next year's season. Do you care to elaborate on tentative start dates for that?
Yeah. So we got this, this report that the NBA players wanted to start the season. NBA stars and players, so it's just they're all combined. They all wanted to start January 18th on Martin Luther King Day. And I've always wondered when they were going to start it. I didn't know if they were going to start in November, just like the normal season would have started. But now they want to start in January 18th, MLK Day, which is, very relevant to the time. The Black Lives Matters, the equal rights thing that's going on right now. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if Adams, I can never pronounce his name, Silver.
Yeah.
Silver? I don't know, but Adam Silver is going to be I don't know if he's going to let that, have the season go on or wait that long. But, I mean, that's a pretty cool idea to start on MLK Day and, go on from there. I don't know how long the season's going to be, but eventually we got to get back on schedule with, this whole the sports when they start and everything, because everything's just going to get discombobulated. But I thought that was a pretty cool thing that they wanted to do, regardless of the effects that it would have had. I don't know, what's your guys' take on it?
I mean, I agree with you. I think we need to eventually reestablish that pattern of normalcy in terms of schedule. So there's bound to be one season where either there was a super long break or a much shorter break in between seasons. Sounds like they want to go with a shorter break, which, I mean, if the players are okay with it, I say go for it.
Yeah, I think that whole start date is going to be a pretty good statement of sentiment and value to the whole black culture, and so I say by all means go for it. It'll be a statement in the history of the NBA as well, and you kind of got to tip your hat and kind of look at it from a more of a humble standpoint rather than someone who's just let's get this league started again.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if that goes through and if they continue. And the NBA draft is happening in November, which is literally next week is November already. So that's coming up soon. So if you get drafted in November, you have essentially 2 months before potentially your first NBA game. So I'm sure that's quite a shock to the rookies. You mentioned a few potential rumors, Ethan, for the NBA offseason. Do you care to elaborate on those?
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody knows that, the speculation between Chris Paul and the Bucks. I think the Bucks are trying to pursue Chris Paul despite the season that he had with OKC. Do you guys think that Chris Paul should leave OKC and go to the Bucks? Because he did bring them, that far. He did kind of carry the team on his shoulders with a lot of those guys there. But I think that if you incorporate Chris Paul with Giannis and Middleton, those superstars, and that's just the way that the Bucks play. You know, they want to win. They're like a very sound team, and you know, it showed the way that they get to the playoffs. They obviously don't make it far, and I think that Chris Paul can help, take them a little bit further. So, what's your guys' take when it comes to Chris Paul joining the Bucks and what they already have there? Since they don't have a solid, point guard to command things, it's more Giannis, get the ball to Giannis or get the ball to Chris Middleton and rebound and make plays when you need to.
I will say the Bucks do have like a missing puzzle piece that needs to be filled, and I think Chris Paul is going to be a worthy candidate for the position. If not, I feel like there's also a couple of like other viable options, but like that one up in the air. I think Chris Paul is going to be a little bit more successful with the Bucks offense and the Bucks team as a whole, as opposed to OKC. I just feel like the system might be a little bit better. It might be less sharing and more like
caring,
working together.
Yeah, I think the Bucks are definitely in win now mode, and Chris Paul could be that missing piece that propels them to that next level. Because as you said, Ethan, they didn't make it that far in the playoffs this year. They lost to the Raptors last year in the conference finals, so they're close. They're obviously one of the top teams in the East. Getting a guy like Chris Paul would obviously require them to give up valuable assets. However, the return they'd get with Chris Paul could prove invaluable and really propel them to that next level. So I think, I'm not even a Bucks fan, but I think it's a worthwhile trade to look into for sure. There were also a few other. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up the other trade rumors. I was gonna go on. Another one that I just read up on, it was Rajon Rondo. The Clippers, are showing interest in him, and I just don't know. I just don't see that happening. Just because he just won a ring with LeBron. I mean, if it happens, it happens. It's really not in his control because it's what the Lakers and Clippers want to do within each other. Because there are speculations of one of them is going to leave, but. Put aside those speculations, what do you think? Because his leadership is he's a vet, his mindset, his IQ. How do you think that they're gonna help the Clippers, who blew a 3-1 lead?
Yeah, I think Rondo definitely found his own this year with the Lakers and proved to be really valuable for them. I think if he comes to the Clippers, that might actually, I could see that happening and taking them to that next level because they have, assuming they can keep all their guys because they have such a deep bench or they got like Beverly, they got Lou Williams, who's a 6th man of the year, Harrell, they've got Morris, they've got a bunch of great guys. They're a deep squad. It's surprising they didn't make it as further in the playoffs. I think adding Rondo could be valuable to them. However, like you mentioned, he just won that championship with LeBron, so, I don't know.
I think they'd really need to sell their position in order to acquire Rajon Rondo, just because he's a pretty solid athlete all around, coming off of a good year with a great team, and obviously that team is not going to want to give up their players that they won a championship with. So I think they really need to sell their pitch in order to get him.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. And one last trade rumor that's probably one of the biggest, and which I am a fan of because it involves my favorite player, who will always be my favorite player in the NBA, and that's Derrick Rose to the Lakers. Now, Derrick Rose and the Detroit and the Lakers had talks about acquiring Derrick Rose, but something in the contract they didn't want to do. I read that, Detroit or Derrick Rose was too valuable at that time for Detroit to trade at the time. And when you look at Derrick Rose, you're looking at a guy who was former MVP, who took the Bulls to Eastern Conference Finals. And just how the type of player he was. He was explosive. Ever since all those injuries, he bounced around teams from New York to Minnesota to the Cavs, um, Cavs too, and now he's on Detroit. And the thing with Derrick Rose is he may not be the player that he used to be, but he's still producing right now, and I think he's playing very smart right now. When he was on the Timberwolves, he averaged 18 points, 5 assists off the bench. And there was a stat that when he started, he would average 19 to 20 points. But that's when he started. And then he dropped that 50-point game in his first start, too. That was his first start when he dropped 50 points. And when he's over there and when he got traded to Detroit, he averaged 19, I think 5 and like 3 rebounds. But 19 points as a point guard, still after those injuries, torn ACL, MCL, he broke his eye, he broke his like orbital fracture right here. He's been through so much injuries, and he's still producing those numbers. So what do you guys think? Him being a part of the Lakers, who already have LeBron, who already have AD, arguably the best player in the league, arguably the best center in the league, and then you add a point guard that can score. And I know they had Rondo, but who's really a bigger threat, Rondo or Derrick Rose, who can still, put the ball in the basket and who's still explosive and pretty quick, but now he has a shot too. His 3-point range is like jumped up to like the 40s percentage and the 50s percentages just in like the last 2 years. So what do you guys think the Lakers acquiring Derrick Rose would, ultimately help him and help the team?
I think Derrick Rose plays with a lot of heart, no doubt. And I think if the Lakers were to acquire him, I think that would be like more, I guess, believable, more realistic if they were shipping out Rajon Rondo. So if that actually goes through, I feel like Derrick Rose has 100% potential of landing in LA.
Yeah, and Derrick Rose, I would pick him over Rondo personally because Rose is just so explosive. And like Skyler said, he plays with a ton of heart, ton of passion, and he really gives it his all. I really was upset when Rose left Minnesota. I loved him playing for the Wolves, so I would rather have Rose over Rondo. However, like you mentioned, Ethan, those injuries are, it's a part of his history. So that's always in the back of your mind, too, as a GM. Do you want that on your team, that injury risk? But no, I'd say Rose.
And 100%. 100%. And it's, it's hard for me because I'm a Bulls fan. I've been a Bulls fan since he got in the league. He's the reason why I'm a Bulls fan. So I've been watching him and following him since he's been in the league since 2008. And it's, despite those injuries, he's still doing some of the stuff that he used to do, And I just want him, and I know he just wants a ring. And that's all I want him to do. Because I don't want him to be in those list of players to be so great that never won a ring,
Right.
Like,
there's so many of those players too.
So many players that are great that didn't win a ring, and I just don't want him to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that's all we got.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we have anything else on the menu?
Don't say it again. Next man on the menu.
You want to put bets on the Packers and Vikings? What's the score?
Vikings.
What's going to be the score?
Vikings win 38-3.
Woo!
Whoa. Bold.
Mic drop. Oh.
Final score for Vikings Packers. Oh, ignoring what Jake just said. I'm guessing it's going to be, I think, we're going 34-18.
What? 18?
18, just because, I feel like that's the most Vikings will ever put up against the Packers.
It's our turn to get a safety.
All right. I'm gonna say 27. So 27-14. I'm gonna give y'all 27-14. Just because I think y'all may be a better team this time than last time. I'm gonna give you that.
That's very debatable. That's very debatable. But thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
What do our viewers think? What do we got for final score predictions? Vikings, Packers this week.
Predictions. because I know it's a few, but it's a nice little friendly food. It's not like the Bears. These Bears fans, they just get under my skin. Okay, they think that they're so good, and they didn't even put up a touchdown against. Help me.
The Rams.
Help me. The Rams. They didn't put a touchdown. The only person who scored was Eddie Jackson.
And he's on defense.
The only person who scored was Eddie Jackson and the kicker. I think because it was just 7, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just. That was just, that's just tough.
Yeah.
And they barely won their games, so it's just. I like Vikings fans. I just not like the Vikings.
Hey, we're loyal.
It'll be a fun week. It'll be a fun week for sure.
I agree.
That is true.
Well, Ethan, I think that's all we got for tonight. I don't see anyone giving their predictions, so I think, yeah.
Thank you guys for having me again, okay?
Hey,
Yeah.
thank you.
You guys look good.
Hey,
You guys look good. You guys
look
look scary.
great. You look super
Stop.
scary.
I liked it better when I couldn't see your face when you had that mask all the way on.
I'm glad I can't
Dude,
see
I
half of your
couldn't
face.
breathe. I couldn't do it.
I can't breathe in this.
But no, thanks for having me, you guys. It's always fun coming on here again.
Oh, anytime. For those of you watching, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have your support, and you can stay tuned every Wednesday at 9 p.m., not 9:10. So sorry, that's on us. 9 p.m. Wednesday nights, 9 Central. Tune in for more high quality, average quality sports content. I'm Jake.
I'm Skylar.
We're with Ethan. Sports Desk.
We have the meats.